DJ Payne 1.
Hello, guys. Welcome to the CEO Sports Show for August 6, 2025. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about the Eagles and are they going to go back-to-back? We're also going to talk about Caleb Williams and everything that's going on with training camp with him so far. And we're also going to be talking about Cooper Flagg and why I think the Mavericks have a really good chance to win an NBA Finals in his rookie contract. So I just want to say we are now 2 days into the CEO Sports Show. This is the third day, and I think we've done a really good job over these first few days of, getting not just getting the content out, but you guys supporting and doing everything you can to, increase the viewership of the page. So I would like to say I greatly appreciate that. So without further ado, let's get into the first topic of the day, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't believe that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to go back-to-back this upcoming season. Now, while I will also say this, it wouldn't surprise me if they did, but the reason why I don't think they're going to go back-to-back like the Kansas City Chiefs have done is that I just don't think that the main pieces of that football team are nearly close to what the main pieces of the Kansas City Chiefs are, right? I don't care where you rank Jalen Hurts, but I don't think anybody's going to make the argument that he's a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. I don't care where you rank Nick Sirianni, but I don't think anybody's going to say that Nick Sirianni's a better head coach than Andy Reid. And I don't necessarily think it's close with either Hurts to Mahomes and Sirianni to Reid. So I think that the main pieces of the Eagles team are heavily dependent on what's around them, right? And I don't think that the Eagles roster is as good as it was last year. I think that they lost depth on both the offensive and defensive line. Losing Mekhi Becton, I think, is going to be a big loss for them because I thought he was outstanding for them. And I think they lost some pieces on the defensive line there. They lost players in the secondary. I think just overall, I don't think that their roster is as good as it was last year. And I think that when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, and the reason why they were able to go back-to-back is because they have, even with an above average to just a regular good roster, the main pieces on that team are so good when you talk about the quarterback and the head coach that they can elevate an above average to a good roster to a Super Bowl because of how great they are. I just don't think that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are that. I think that they are much more dependent on how great the roster around them is. than they are, hey, we can elevate what's around us. And that's why ultimately I don't think they're going to go back to back. And I also do think that the Rams are probably going to be the team that represents the NFC. Now, remember this, even with the fact that the Eagles were as healthy as they were last year, even with the fact that they had the amount of talent that they had last year, who was the team that gave them the most problems? It was the Los Angeles Rams in the city of Philadelphia, where they played that game, and they almost won that game. And I will even contend, I think the Rams did everything they could to lose that game, and they still almost won that game. And I think that if it doesn't snow out that game, I think that the Rams win that game. And I don't like doing the if game there, but I can't help to think, if it didn't snow that game, that I think that the Los Angeles Rams probably go on to the NFC Championship and ultimately the Super Bowl, where that would have been, I think, a much more entertaining game. Not because the Eagles didn't deserve to win the Super Bowl. They absolutely did. They were a fantastic team. But I just think, it would have been a more evenly matched matchup there in the Super Bowl. Now, I will say this. The reason why it wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles do go back-to-back is because they do have some young pieces on this roster that are going to step into the roles that, a Milton Williams left with a guy like Moro Ojamo and some of the young cornerbacks that they have. Maybe they can replace Darius Slay and Isaiah Rodgers. You hope that they can find somebody on their offensive line to replace Mekhi Becton. I mean, they do have Stoutland University over there, so you do have to give respect to the type of coach that he is. But that's really what this is going to come down for the Eagles. If they want to go back to back, these young players that they've been able to draft over the past few years here are going to need to step up and play big roles for this football team. And another thing that I do want to bring up when it comes to the Eagles going back to back is that they were very healthy last year. I think the only player that they were missing in the Super Bowl last year that was a regular starter was Nakobe Dean, right? That's one player out of 22 players, and they had all their starters. I've never seen a team that healthy in my entire life. I mean, it's really impressive what they've been able to do over there with keeping their guys healthy and the training staff that they have over there. So you do have to give them credit for that. And that actually could be something where you can make the counter argument to me that, hey, you want to know what? It's actually a trend that the Eagles have been able to be as healthy as they were, because they were very healthy in their Super Bowl run in 2022, the 2022-2023 season. So that is a point that you can make, but I just don't. And now I hope that I'm wrong when I say this, but it's just hard to replicate that injury luck. Not only that, I also don't think Saquon Barkley is going to run for over 2,000 yards. I mean, he is, in year 8, I believe it is. So year 8 running back, I still think he's going to be wildly productive. I still expect at minimum 1,500 yards on the ground. But again, that's a guy with, injury history. So that is something that you have to take into account. Now, when I look at the NFC, I think that the biggest impediment to the Eagles going back to the Super Bowl is the Los Angeles Rams. I think the Los Angeles Rams are going to be an incredible football team this year. I think that outside of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Los Angeles Rams have the second best defensive line in football. Maybe outside of the Steelers and the Giants, but I even think you can make a case that the Rams defensive line is better than the Giants defensive line. But that's the team where I look at and I say, I think that they're going to be on a mission. And I think that they did the things this offseason to, build a defense to try and neutralize the Philadelphia Eagles rushing attack. I think adding Poona Ford to that defense is going to be big for them. I also think the Buccaneers are a team that have given the Eagles problems over the past few years here. They're a team that could be an impediment for them. The Cowboys are a team that, have given the Eagles some problems here over the past few years. Maybe that's a team. But I just think that overall, when you look at the NFC, I think that obviously the Eagles deserve to be the favorites in the NFC. But me personally, I just think that the Rams are going to get to the Super Bowl just because I think their passing attack is going to be flat out lethal. You obviously have an outstanding quarterback with Matthew Stafford, a great head coach with Sean McVay, with the receivers that they have and the defensive line that they have. I think that ultimately that's going to be the thing that I think ultimately propels them to win the NFC. But would I be surprised if it's the Eagles? Absolutely not. They're a very well-run organization. They have a fantastic general manager. I think they do have stability with the quarterback and the head coach. And I think that ultimately that's the reason why they're going to win. I think I have them winning 12 games this year. I do have them winning the NFC East, and I have them going to the NFC Championship game. I just think that the Rams are going to be really, really good this year, and I think that's going to be the biggest impediment to the Eagles going back-to-back. So I want to move on to the next topic here. Caleb Williams. I'm not giving up on Caleb Williams. I'm sorry. I was very high on Caleb Williams coming out of college, and I'm going to continue to say I think this guy is going to be a star in the NFL. I get it. He's struggling at training camp right now, but I don't think it's fair to look at what he's doing in training camp as the reason to say, okay, this guy doesn't have it. He's not going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I don't think that's fair, because what's the complaints that people had about Caleb Williams? He has to learn how to play within structure, right? Everybody understands that that's a weakness of his, even though I do think he has the capability to do it. So when he's struggling to do the things within structure during training camp, why are people surprised by that? He's a second-year quarterback playing in a completely different offense that he did last year. The Ben Johnson offense is far more complex, far more complicated than the Shane Waldron offense. This is a complete culture shock to Caleb Williams. He's getting a lot of things thrown at him right now. And I just don't like the fact that we're using training camp, which is practice, right? He's trying to practice to get better playing within structure. He's practicing to get better with the playbook and the plays that Ben Johnson is trying to run. This is not going to be a one-year fix for the Chicago Bears. Why do people keep putting all these expectations on that football team year in and year out? This is a team that needs to prove that they can be a legitimate football team and a legitimate threat in the NFC before we start placing expectations on them. I get it. They improved their offensive line. You like the weapons that they have on the outside. You like the head coach that they have. But let this team actually establish a culture and let Caleb Williams actually develop and mature and become the quarterback that we think he can be. I'm not going off training camp practice to say that Caleb Williams isn't going to be the quarterback that we think he can be. It's practice at the end of the day. He's trying to get better. Did anybody care about training camp before social media became a thing and we started using these training camp clips to make fun of these players? No, I don't think that's fair to do, because at the end of the day, it's like a golfer going to the range and practicing his swing and people looking at his swing and saying, oh, look at how bad his swing looks. Well, why do you think he's at the range in the first place? He's trying to practice his swing so that his swing can become better. Caleb Williams is trying to practice his mechanics so that they can become better. Yes, he had that embarrassing video where he was struggling to throw the ball into the net. But guess what? They're also working on his mechanics, right? Maybe the reason why he's struggling with that is because they're trying different things with his mechanics so that he can become a more consistent passer. Right? Did anybody think of that? And that's where I come from, where let Ben Johnson develop this young man. Give him some time. I get it. The expectations of this young man coming out of college was that he was going to be this elite player day one, because we've seen young quarterbacks have that type of success day one. We even saw somebody in his own draft class with Jaden Daniels have that type of success in day one. But then again, Jaden Daniels played 5 years of college football. Jaden Daniels was throwing the ball to Brandon Ayuk, playing against Justin Herbert when he was at Arizona State. That's how long he was in college for. Okay? Caleb Williams went to college for 3 years, and I don't think that he got the development in college that he needed to get to be a pro-style quarterback in the NFL. And that's what Ben Johnson is doing. The development that the Chicago Bears had him on last year and what they were doing with him with Shane Waldron, it obviously didn't work for him. Right. And I don't think that Caleb Williams had a bad rookie season. I thought his rookie season was above average, right? He did some things that you liked, but ultimately, you expected more from a guy like that coming into the NFL. But guess what? It didn't happen day one. Now, that's not to say it won't happen in the future. I still believe that Caleb Williams is going to be a star in the NFL. I'm going to trust my eyes and see what I saw at USC and saw the fact that he was able to maneuver within the pocket the way he was able to and make plays and extend plays. I'm going to look at that and say, okay, I'm going to bet on that. And understand this, right? Ben Johnson, the reason why his offense looked as good as it was because it's very much structure based, right? And Jared Goff is a quarterback that can play within structure. He does a very good job with that. So Jared Goff did a good job executing the offense that the Bears wanted him to execute because he does a very good job of remaining within structure. But once the play breaks down, Jared Goff is an absolute liability. The thing is with Caleb, he has to learn to play within structure. But when he can extend the play and the play breaks down, he can make plays that Jared Goff cannot make. And as a head coach, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, I can teach this guy to play within structure, but I can't teach Jared Goff to extend plays the way Caleb Williams can extend plays because he doesn't have the natural athletic gifts that a Caleb Williams has. So that's where I look at this and I say, yeah, Ben Johnson, it's going to take a little more work for him to develop Caleb Williams than what went on with Jared Goff, where day one Jared Goff understood. And understand this with Jared Goff as well. He played in the Sean McVay offense. He understood complex and complicated offenses because he played with Sean McVay for as long as he played with Sean McVay. So when he got with Ben Johnson, he was like, okay, I can learn complex and complicated concepts because I played with somebody that has an offense with complex and complicated concepts. Caleb Williams, it's the complete opposite. Shane Waldron ran a basic offense. The USC offense, it's not like the Ben Johnson offense, right? So that's where I come from, and I say, give it some time, allow this young man to develop into the quarterback that we think he can be, because I still am going to hold the line and say I think he could be a very good quarterback. It's just maybe the maturity, maybe you worry about that, and the questions that people had about his maturity coming into the NFL, maybe that's something that you do have to worry about. But ultimately, I haven't really seen anything from him off the field to make me suggest that this guy has maturity problems. I just think that he is a young man who has a lot of pressure on him, that ultimately he has to improve with what he has to improve on. And I do think that he's going to do that. And here's the thing with Caleb Williams. I think that ultimately he's going to turn into one of these players where there's players in the NFL where people only point out what they do well and the good things that they do and ignore the bad. And then there's players in the NFL where people just talk about the bad things and ignore the good. I think that Caleb Williams is the type of player where people are just going to ignore the good things that he does and just pay attention to the bad. Because I do think that Caleb Williams did a really good job with protecting the football last season. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that, right? Now, you have to build upon that and add more to your repertoire. But ultimately, I do think that Caleb Williams is going to be one of those players where, he might develop and be a really good quarterback, but people are still going to pay attention to what he didn't do compared to what he has done. And I don't think Caleb Williams was a bad quarterback last year. I think he was okay, but obviously when you draft a quarterback number one overall, you expect more than okay. But I think that Caleb Williams is going to be more than okay. I think that he's actually going to be a really good player in this league. So we are going to move on to the next topic here and talk about Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks. But before we get into the next topic, I want you guys to subscribe to the Stadium Pulse, the YouTube page that we have for Mr. Tegan Randolph. He did an excellent show yesterday. He's going to be covering college football for the page. He did an excellent job, and I'm very proud of the work that he did there. And also make sure to subscribe to the mic drop with Ben Garcia. Excellent show that he did yesterday. Even though my last, my last topic there was pretty much going against what he said in his show yesterday. But we disagree on a lot of stuff. We'll be on a show together on Sunday, and we'll probably be going at it. But I really enjoyed his show, and I really enjoy having these guys on the Kretschman Media platform. And I'm just so excited for you guys to see the full vision. We're just getting started here, and I think that we're in for a very long and successful tenure here at Kretschman Media. So I just want to shout out to Tim Franklin in the chat. He's always been supporting my content. If people don't know, I cover the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and I've been doing so for the past 4 years. And Tim Franklin has been somebody who has supported my content. So I just want to say shout out to you, bro. I really appreciate the support, and I see you in there. Shout out to you. So I do want to move on to Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks. I believe that the Dallas Mavericks are going to win an NBA Finals in the rookie contract of Cooper Flagg. And I think that Cooper Flagg is going to be a flat-out superstar in this league. And I think that he is in a perfect situation here with the Dallas Mavericks, because with Kyrie Irving, with Anthony Davis, with Derek Lively, with the roster that they have assembled, and then you add Cooper Flagg into the mix, he's going to play in big games right off the bat. Even though Kyrie Irving, I'm not sure how many games he's going to play this season, I still think that this team is good enough to where they can win enough games to at least make the play-in, if not be the 6th seed in the West and not have to play in the play-in. But he's going to play in big games from the get-go. He's going to play in big games year 1, year 2, year 3. And I think that ultimately with the roster that they built, him being a second, third piece to this roster, and I think that they just built a really good roster around Kyrie, Cooper Flagg, and Anthony Davis, I think that they will win an NBA Finals. But not only that, they're setting the stage where you have these two outstanding veterans who can absolutely carry you to an NBA Finals, but you have this young star that when those veterans start to age and start to, their level of play starts to drop off, you have a young guy in Cooper Flagg that can take over as being the best player on this team and really mature into that and let him develop into that, instead of saying, hey, you are on a horrible basketball team and we need you to be the best player. I think the pressure that he has day one is far less than, let's just say, a guy like Victor Wembanyama or a guy like Zion Williamson. And I think that that's going to really help Cooper Flagg. And not only that, I think that the way Cooper Flagg plays the game, I think that it's perfect for the type of role he's going to play day one in the Mavericks system. I think the way he plays defense, the way he can guard multiple positions, the way on offense that he can really make things happen with the ball in his hands, but not just with the ball in his hands, with the ball not in his hands, off-ball stuff. I think that Cooper Flagg is going to be a perfect fit for what they want to do in Dallas day one. And I think that when you look at the Western Conference, obviously this year, I don't think that they're going to be the type of level of contender as, let's just say, in Oklahoma City or Houston, the two teams that I think are the best teams in the Western Conference. But I think let Kyrie get a healthy season under him, give it the 26-27 season. I think that that's the year that they can really make a push and potentially win an NBA Finals, because you have the two guys, Davis and Irving, on that team. But then you have a second-year player like Cooper Flagg, where we've seen guys like, Boncaro and Karl Anthony Towns come in and make an immediate impact. But then you see year two, they take another leap and they become outstanding players. And that's what I think Cooper Flagg is going to do. Obviously, rookie season, I think that he's going to be a very good player for this team. But I think that come that second year, you're talking about a top 25 player in the NBA. That's what I think he's going to be for this basketball team. And, obviously, like Nico Harrison made that trade for Anthony Davis and he traded away Luka Doncic. And he got a lot of criticism, and rightfully so, because that was just a trade that you kind of looked at and said, what in the world are you doing? But I think he kind of backed in to like a really good situation here. And I think that ultimately, with the team that they have, I think that that's going to be something that, you kind of look at and you say like, hey, this could be a team that can contend for the next 5 to 10 years because they have a player the caliber of Cooper Flag. And I think that, again, it's going to be one of those situations to where he's going to mature into being the star player. And one addition that I actually really liked that they made this offseason was the D'Angelo Russell addition, because I think that D'Angelo Russell is the type of guy where you're going to ask him to play on the second team once Kyrie comes back. And I think that that's actually a perfect role for D'Angelo Russell, because coming off the bench, allowing him to be the offensive engine on your second unit, I think is actually a perfect role for him. If you're asking him to be your starting point guard, now they're going to ask him to be that, game 1 through maybe game 65 to 70 before Kyrie comes back. But asking him to be your point guard on the second unit, I think is a perfect role for him, because I do think he is a really good volume scorer. I think he can facilitate a second team unit here. And that's where I say, I think that that's kind of a sneaky addition that they made over this offseason that I don't think people are giving them enough credit for. But, when you look at the team that I think they're going to be competing with over the next few years here, we talk about Oklahoma City, we talk about Houston. You wonder with Oklahoma City, with all the money that they're allocating to Gilgeous-Alexander, Holmgren, and Williams, are they going to be able to build a team around them to where going into the future year? Obviously, they built a really good team around them for this upcoming year and this past year. But you wonder 2-3 years down the line, how good of a team are they able to build around those guys, right? Because of the type of money that they're allocating those guys. They need to hit on their draft picks. And I do think they're going to do that. But I just really have a lot of faith that the Mavericks are going to be able to build a team around Kyrie, Davis, and Cooper Flag on a rookie contract to where they're going to be a legitimate contender in the Western Conference. And I think that this all depends on Kyrie Irving's health this upcoming season, because if he is healthy this upcoming season, maybe in the second half of the year, this is going to be a team that they're going to give teams a lot of problems. And they might be one of these teams that sneaks into the back end of the playoffs. And you have a team that's maybe the second or third seed that they say, damn, we got to play this team round 1. And maybe they're a team that could potentially upset somebody round 1. I mean, I'm not ruling that out, especially if they have a healthy Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, because I do think that people underestimate how good Anthony Davis is when he's healthy. When he's healthy, he is a top 15 player in the game. Same thing with Kyrie Irving. Like, those guys are elite basketball players. So I'm high on the Mavericks. I'm high on what they can do in the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe not this upcoming year, but 2 to 3 years. I think that they'll win a championship in that time frame. I love the head coach and Jason Kidd, and I just think overall as a franchise, they are heading in the right direction. So episode 3 of the CEO Sports Show is out of the way, and I do appreciate you guys for supporting the show. This was a very ambitious venture that, we took on, and, we do have something in the works for another show that we're going to be adding to the platform. There's going to be more details for that, but, if you're a basketball fan, I think you're really going to enjoy the show that we're going to add to the platform. And I think that, we really have a great group of guys. I'm very happy with the guys that we brought in, and I think they're going to do a great job for the company. And I'm just really, really looking forward to what this company can be and the content that we can provide, because I looked at the sports media landscape, and I saw that there was a gap missing in the sports media landscape. And I hope that we can fill that gap, because I believe that there are plenty of people like me out there that look at the gap in the sports media industry and say, okay, this is something that I wanted to see filled. So that's going to be it for the stream. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I'll greatly appreciate that. Not only that, make sure to go check out the Mic Drop with Benjamin Garcia, and also make sure to go check out the Stadium Pulse with Tegan Randolph. Those are great shows. You guys will really enjoy them. I promise you you'll enjoy them. So until next time, with my producer in the back, Stefan, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next episode.